we have a couple of more stomach-turning stories for you. Rush Limbaugh is at the top of this list now. He's a little background on this. They're going to the White House. Roger Ailes is there. Now, Bob Woodward reported in his last book that Roger Ailes had sent an urgent note to President Bush, secret note, after 9/11 saying, hey, you better treat whoever did this very harshly, otherwise the country will not be patient with you. In other words, you know, we're going to say that you're being a wuss unless you attack anything and everything in your sight. I view that more as a threat than anything else. But some people are viewing it as political advice, which isn't kosher because he's running a news network. Fox News. That's a good one. Anyway, so he has to, Ailes came out and was like, no, what are you talking about? No, I just sent him a note as a concerned citizen. And I didn't say harshly, I said tough. Whatever, dude, okay? So, and Bob Woodward had to come in and say it's not a big deal, backpedal. He wants to keep going on Fox News Channel, even though he reported the story and the story was 100% accurate. And I love Ailes. Ailes is like, you know, I was in politics 12 years ago, and they still won't let it go. He worked for Nixon, Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, and he says, we don't run a conservative news organization here at all. What are you talking about? We'll play it right down the middle. He said, if I'd committed murder, people would have let me off the hook by now. So, anyway, that's a little background for you as Ailes and Rush Limbaugh go to the White House. Now, Rush Limbaugh tells the story, and he thinks it's hilarious. I think it's probably the least funny story I've ever heard, but I'm amused by how funny he thinks it is. So let's play it for you. This is clip number 7.
But I have to tell you a funny little story. Roger Ailes and his wife Beth and their 8-year-old son Zach were also there. So we teamed up. We happened to get the same color-coded ticket to get in line for the presidential photo. So they're in line in front of us, and then we've got Catherine Rogers, the lovely and gracious, the most beautiful, with me, and we're standing behind them. And then there's all kinds of other media people behind us in line. And as you know, Ailes walks up to the President and Mrs. Bush, and the President opens his arm. Whoa, look who's here! And they start chatting and talking and so forth. And after a while, I finally shouted. I say, "Hey, can we move this line on, please?" And Bush turned around and had a smile on his face and said, "Quiet, Limbaugh. Ailes and I are conspiring." So they posed for the picture. They took the picture, and Catherine and I got up there, and I introduced Catherine to President Bush. I said, "Mr. President, this is Catherine Rogers," and he took a step back. His eyes got wide. He said, "No, the Catherine Rogers." It was the funniest thing. We posed for the picture, and we moved on and toward the door. But it was just it was great fun, and I'm very appreciative of the invitation, because who knows when, if ever, ladies and gentlemen, someone like I will be invited back there again, other than for an interrogation. But I have to.
Oh, that's the funniest story I ever heard. What did the Three Stooges do? That was the least interesting story I ever heard. The only thing I got out of it is how far up Roger Ailes' ass Rush Limbaugh was buried, and how much they love going to the White House and filleting the president. Oh, Mr. President, Limbaugh, we're conspiring. Some orgiastic, absurd chuckling and laughing that makes me sick to my stomach.